So the stimulus will activate the sensory receptors. And the sensory receptors, once they're activated, they will produce a neuronal impulse called the action potential, that electrical signal that will travel through the afferent nerves, and it's going to reach the brain. It's going to reach the cerebral cortex of the brain. So that's the gray matter of the cerebrum, of that largest top part of the brain that has right and left hemispheres. So it's going to reach the cerebral cortex of the brain. And the cerebral cortex will analyze that neuronal impulse and analyze that information and create a perception. So this is how we're going to actually experience the stimulus that our sensory receptors detected. So we're going to experience this stimulus as, let's say, we're going to feel it as heat, or we're going to feel pain, we're going to feel a touch, we're going to see a picture, we're going to experience a taste. So that's going to be called perception. Okay, so every sensory pathway will have these steps. For example, stimulus will be chemicals in the air that we inhale into our nose. So the chemicals in the air that we inhale into our nose, for example, that's going to be like the scent of the flowers. The stimulus. Sensory receptors in our nose, called olfactory receptors or smell receptors, they're going to detect the stimulus, and they're going to create a neuronal impulse, the action potential, that will travel through afferent nerves into the cerebral cortex. And cerebral cortex will create a perception. We're going to smell the flowers, and we're going to experience the beautiful smell of flowers. That's going to be the perception of that. So the experience that we experience within our bodies, that we usually we can share with other people, but we don't know exactly how they experience it, but we can kind of like agree whether the smell is pleasant or not pleasant. So that's going to be a perception, so like our experience of that stimulus. So the stimulus will be the scent of flowers, the chemicals that the flower radiates and exudes, and sensory receptors will be the smell receptors, olfactory receptors in our nose, that will get activated by the stimulus, create a neuronal impulse that will travel to the brain through afferent nerves, and the brain will create a perception of scent.